Virgo, welcome to your hopes, fears, and reality spread. As per usual, you can click right on that description box below and it will talk about the significance of the spread as well as the placement of each card. Hmm, that's really interesting, Virgo. So I have the Eight of Swords in the inverse and the Chariot in the inverse. So it feels like, well, it's no secret that Virgos tend to overthink. Okay. It feels like you're hoping to get an idea out of your head. You don't want to overthink something anymore because you recognize that you've gone too far with this idea. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Alan Watts, but he talks about overthinking and that, thinking is good and it's useful just like anything else in moderation. I think he says it just like that. But at some point, if all you're dealing with is what he calls his chatter in the skull, then at some point you lose touch with reality and you're just dealing with thoughts upon thoughts upon thoughts. Okay. So it feels like one of these ideas that you had, something that you were working out and thinking through, went way off into left field. And then you recognize that you were in a prison of your own making. You were just dealing with thoughts upon thoughts upon thoughts, and you weren't really as in touch with the reality of the situation as you once were. So you're hoping to get out of that and to reel everything back in so you can look at the actual situation. So, yeah, you're hoping to reel it back in and get down to the matter of things, get down to the facts of things. In your fears, you feel like there could be a lack of growth in a particular situation. Like there's a karmic wheel just spinning round and round, and you're just stuck in the same old, same old, same old every day. And that nothing is really growing, and nothing is really healing, and nothing is really happening, you know? So there's one area in your life, I don't know if it's work, I don't know if it's home, I don't know if it's, at the gym, maybe you've just reached a plateau or something, but, or maybe a particular person that you're trying to reach out to. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner, it can just be a friend or a family member. But there's some situation in your life that it's just the same thing over and over and over, and there is no growth, there is no movement. It doesn't hurt you, this particular situation, but it also doesn't serve you either. It's just kind of there. So it's kind of like being stuck in the mundane without having growth causes you a certain amount of anxiety. You're used to movement, you're used to forward movement, and that's what you crave. So being in a situation that's just okay or just kind of there isn't isn't feeling good anymore. It's causing a certain amount of anxiety. The reality of the situation is that you've had the idea to drop, to cut things out of your life. The Ten of Wands is often referenced as the burden of responsibility. Each one of those wands that you picked up either happened out of passion or necessity, but there's a responsibility to maintain each one. You're carrying everyone with you. And you've actually come to the conclusion that there are things that you need to let go of in order to have a more comfortable journey. Which explains these relationships or situations that feel very mundane. Are you thinking about letting them go, but afraid of what'll happen if you do? Because these people, like I said, or these situations, they might be tried and true. They may have been there for a very long time. There might be longevity, but just a lack of growth. So maybe it's not time to cut out these things so much as it is to just give those things less energy and attention and see what happens. See if they still continue to move with you or serve you, or if they fade out on their own. Oof. Oof. So let's recap here, Virgo. You recognize that you were overthinking a situation. So you're trying to reel that situation back in and get down to the facts. You fear a lack of new growth. You feel, I don't want to say fear. It's anxious. It's almost like cabin fever, like you're just stuck in the same old, same old, same old. You're settling for mundane, and you don't want to settle for mundane. You want growth. You want new movement. You want to complete karmic cycles. You want to heal. You want to find a new passion. You want to find a new hobby. You want to get out of the house. You know what I mean? But you're just kind of in the house. And that could be, like I said, that could be a relationship. That could even be a work thing. You can just be stuck in the same old loop at work. And the reality is, you're really starting to look at your life and saying, hey, what's working for me and what isn't? I'm not saying you're ready to get rid of anybody or anything, and I'm not saying that you should. But I'm saying you should look at all of the things that are making you happy and all of the things that are giving you this anxiety, like they aren't going anywhere and they aren't serving a purpose. The reason I recapped on this is because you have many, many choices, and you are stagnant in these choices right now. You are not choosing because you're constantly weighing out the what ifs. Well, what if this? Well, what if that? And if I lose this? And what if I lose that? And stepping into the unknown, what am I going to get? What am I going to? So there's this stagnation due to indecision because you're trying to get everything to balance out perfectly. Because what you don't want is that emotional dysregulation of having the scales go, one way up here and one down there. But unfortunately, when you make big changes in your life, that's what happens. The pendulum has to swing all the way from here all the way to there in order for it to go here. And I just made a similar analogy in the Leo reading, but it's like with a completely different set of circumstances. You want the pendulum to go from here to here, completely balanced. That's not how they work. It's going to go this way, it's going to go that way, and it's eventually going to even out. Okay, so you're constantly weighing the pros and cons of every individual situation. And that's how you get here in the first place. That's how these decisions go way out into left field, that overthinking. The reality of the situation is the Queen of Swords in the inverse will cut people out of her life. But she usually does it out of necessity. If somebody betrays me, I'm willing to walk away. If somebody hurts me, I'm willing to walk away. Usually when somebody's just kind of there and they aren't contributing, that's not somebody a Virgo walks away from. Virgos are very, very loyal people to people who are loyal to them. But ultimately, you might want to look at how much time you're spending in a mundane situation. Maybe you don't want to cut people out. Maybe you just want to redivide your time, redivide your energy. And that, to me, seems very reasonable. I hope you found a message that serves your highest good. Don't get too drastic. Think things through, but don't go way out into left field again to where you lose touch with what's actually happening, and all you're left with is thoughts upon thoughts upon thoughts. There is a band that took some of these Alan Watts quotes that I just brought up from a very famous speech and put it over like dubstep music. It's really, really good. It's called Overthinker. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to that in the description if you want a very entertaining way to contemplate overthinking and how sometimes overthinking helps us lose touch with reality. So I'll put that link in the description. It's like a 4-minute song, and I think you might appreciate it. I hope you found a message that serves your highest good, and I'll see you next time.